Tonight, I am inviting you to something very small and very great. A single night. Not a new belief system, not a membership, not a set of rules to add to the strain of living. Just one night of renunciation. One deliberate laying down of the ceaseless negotiation with life. For these hours you will not make a case, you will not assemble evidence, you will not argue for your improvement. You will not even argue for your safety. Tonight, you will stop the bargaining until only a simple awareness remains. God is. You know the habit I am speaking of. The mind, alert, anxious, industrious, turns its wheels. It plans, it rehearses, it calculates, it bargains. It tells little stories to win sympathy. It draws up contracts with tomorrow. Then it kneels and calls this pressure prayer. We have all done it. But let us be honest in love. That is not prayer. That is fear in religious clothing. That is the separate self, pleading its private case before the infinite. Do you see what I am driving at? Prayer is never asking. No. Prayer is never going to God for something. Never an attempt to persuade omniscience to notice what omniscience could never forget. Prayer is contact, living, felt, quiet contact with the infinite, invisible. Prayer is inner realization, a dawning within that says, without words, God is. Therefore, I am in God. Therefore, all that the Father hath is already the substance of my being. Not whether your mind can repeat it, but whether something deep within you nods in recognition. So tonight, for one night, we will not ask. We will not outline results. We will not tell God how tomorrow should look. We will abide. We will rest the tongue of the heart until only the mantra remains. God is. Let it be the axis of this night. When the mind runs to its bargains, return to the center. God is. When it numbers your lacks, return. God is. Do you feel the rightness of this? Can you sense, even now, a softness beginning where the pressure had been? I make you no promise of fireworks by morning. We are not buying a miracle with an all-night vigil. By morning, you may not have answers in the language of circumstances, but you may find yourself in another country of consciousness, space where there was tightness, warmth where there was ache, release where there was clutching. You may wake to discover that the burden has slipped an inch from your shoulders, not because the load was lightened, but because you are no longer gripping it. This is grace beginning its quiet work. Let this be our compact for the night. No pleading, no bargaining, no condemnation of self or world, only the still, steady realization. God is. I and the Father are one. Your Father and my Father. One. Own one. Rest there. If you can offer this one night without negotiation, you will have opened a way for the imprisoned splendor to breathe. Not to get, but to let. God is. Now let us tell the truth gently, because truth spoken harshly becomes another weapon of the separate self. What keeps you awake is not the condition, not the ledger of bills, not the diagnosis, not the unfinished conversation. What keeps you awake is the claim that there is a little you, a part, who must manage, secure, arrange, and defend life. That is the fatigue. That is the press of thoughts. The belief in a private mind set over against an infinite mind. This is the noise under all the noises. You can feel it if you listen. A small governor perched on the throne, issuing decrees into the night, and trembling at their insufficiency. We have, all of us, practiced the hidden violence of mental striving. We judge after appearances and call it prudence. We slice the day into good and evil and call it moral clarity. We forecast outcomes, bleak or rosy, and name it responsibility. No, no, this is not wisdom. It is fear wearing the garments of virtue. It is the mind refusing to be still, lest it discover it is not God. Do you see what I'm driving at? How the mind stays busy to avoid surrender? It never stops long enough to be found out. For the moment it stops, a softer something whispers, God is. And the little monarch knows its kingdom has always been imaginary. Into this, hear again the ancient simplicity. I and the Father are one. Your Father and my Father. This is not a hierarchy. This is not sainthood reserved for the few. This is the fact of being, the very law, substance, life of you. If I and the Father are one, the infinite nature of God's being assures the infinite nature of our being. One. O-N-E, one. In this oneness, where is the private manager? Where is the separate protector with its nervous ledger? There is none. The strain was a shadow of belief, not a burden of truth. Restlessness, then, is not your personal flaw. It is the symptom of believing you are separate from the infinite. When that claim even dimly reveals itself, surrender begins. Not the surrender of circumstances to your plan, but the surrender of the planner to presence. Judge not after appearances, judge righteous judgment. Which is to say, withdraw your labeling, your measuring, your finalities. Withhold your verdicts long enough to let the invisible speak within. Your heavenly Father knoweth. Not whether your mind agrees with that sentence, but whether something inside relaxes at its sound. Tonight the remedy is not more thinking. It is not refining your forecasts or polishing your opinions. It is the withdrawal of judgment into realization. It is returning, again and again, to the simple altar. God is. 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 When the busy one rises to prosecute its case, do not argue. Do not condemn it. Simply notice the ancient claim of separateness trying to live another hour, and let it pass. Return to the fact, to the felt. God is. In that quiet, you will not acquire power. You will discover presence. And the night that began as problem-solving will ripen into rest, not because the world has changed, but because the claimant has been released into the one who already is. If the mind asks, then what is prayer for this night? Let us answer plainly and softly. Prayer is not a request line to deity. No, no. Prayer is the inner contact, the felt communion, the assurance that truth is present where you are. Prayer is the quiet awareness of the infinite invisible at the center of your own being. It is the recognition without words. God is. 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 Not God to be. Not God if. God is. When that awareness settles, even a little, you find yourself not needing to persuade omnipresence to be present, not needing to instruct omniscience to know. Your heavenly Father knoweth. The issue is never divine supply. The issue is our realization. Every asking assumes a lack. Do you see that? If I go to God to get, I have first declared that I am without. If I go to secure a tomorrow, I announce that omnipresence may fail me then. But if I and the Father are one, your Father and my Father, then all that the Father hath is mine, and all that I have is thine. This is not pomp, it is simple oneness. O-N-E, one. The infinite nature of God's being assures the infinite nature of our being, because the life of God is the life of us. To pray from lack is to pray against our own identity. To rest in oneness is to let the truth bear witness to itself. Now here is where the subtlety must be faced. We may say, but I am not asking for money or things. I am asking for peace, for guidance, for healing. And yet, watch how the little monarch bargains even in those garments. Give me peace, on my terms. Guide me toward the outcome I prefer. Heal me, but do not alter my plans. That is not prayer. That is negotiation dressed in white. No. Prayer asks for nothing because it knows everything essential is already the substance of being. Your peace is not out there. It is the nature of the presence that already is your life. Your guidance is not an external voice. It is the wisdom inherent in the one mind in which you live, move, and have your being. Healing is not the rearrangement of appearances to satisfy a fear. It is the revelation of wholeness that was never absent. So tonight we set aside the bargaining. Drop desire. Drop wishes. Even hope. Drop it. This is not despair. It is consent. It is the opening of consciousness to what already is. You are not abandoning good. You are abandoning the personal grasp that obscures it. Can you feel the rightness of that? Not whether you can argue it, but whether something within relaxes as if a weight has been lifted. Be still and know. That knowing is prayer. Understand then our one-night covenant. We are not changing conditions. We are changing the standpoint from which conditions are perceived. We are not going to God for something. We are abiding in God as the very substance of our being until the inner assurance dawns. From that assurance, tomorrow will be met, not by a petitioner hurrying with lists, but by a presence through which grace can move. Tonight, let the mantra do its work. God is. When a fear rises with its contract, when a memory surfaces with its regret, when the planner reaches for the wheel, do not enter the courtroom. Withhold the plea, withdraw the verdict, and return to the altar within. God is. 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 Stay there, quietly, until the silence itself begins to speak. And when it does, you will know you have prayed. Now we take the next movement of this one night. We withdraw judgment. Judge not after appearances, but judge righteous judgment. Do you hear that not as a rule, but as a way of seeing? Righteous judgment is never the mind's verdict about good and evil. It is the refusal to pronounce a verdict at all until the invisible speaks within. When you withhold your human opinion, you create a holy vacuum. You set down the gavel and leave the bench empty. And into that emptiness, into that quiet, receptive space, there rushes what the mind could never supply: discernment, warmth, a sense of rightness that has no argument attached to it. It is not nothingness. It is room made for presence. Apply this now to the night's great hobby: replay. The mind runs its film. This was success. That was failure. This person is safe. That one a threat. Tomorrow holds danger. Next week, a hope. No. No, we will not let the mind stamp labels on the living God. Stop the stamping. Stop making idols of your own categories. Judge not after appearances. Withdraw the opinion and pause, just long enough to let the vacuum form. Here is the simple practice. As a thought flashes, "This is bad," let it go without a counterthought. As another insists, "This must change," let it pass as you might watch a cloud dissolve. If a face appears with the caption, "Wrongdoer," withhold that caption. Do not replace it with "saint." Do not decorate error with positive thinking. Just do not judge. Do not argue. Do not improve. Create the space. In the very act of withholding, as softly as a breath, let the awareness whisper, "God is." Not to cancel the thought, but to keep faith with reality. God is. Can you feel what happens when you stop deciding what everything means? Not whether you can define it, but whether you can feel it. Something eases in the chest. The breath finds you. A still benevolence stands where the noise had been. This is the vacuum beginning to fill. Your heavenly Father knoweth. The wisdom that knows the sparrow's path does not require your opinion to function. It requires your consent to be still. Judge righteous judgment means see through. See through the appearance to the substance of being. Call no one good and no one evil, no condition blessed and no condition cursed, until the inner assurance rises of itself. In this discipline, you are not becoming careless. You are becoming faithful. Faithful to oneness. If I and the Father are one, your Father and my Father, what verdict can a separated mind deliver that would be righteous? None. Only the Spirit can bear witness to Spirit. As you sustain this withholding, gently, steadily, the mantra you have been speaking ceases to be a phrase you repeat and becomes an atmosphere that repeats you. God is. 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 It gathers around you and within you like a warmth without edges. You do not hold it. It holds you. This is how grace begins to move in consciousness, not because you have judged correctly, but because you have ceased to judge and made room for the one who already is. Now let us make it very simple, so simple that the mind cannot complicate it. One night, one bed, one practice. No program, no schedule of results. This is not effort. It is consent. You are not going to make anything happen. You are going to abide until what already is makes itself known. God is. Begin by settling the body. Let the weight be received as if the bed were the everlasting arms. Unclench the hands. Soften the eyes behind the lids. Let the jaw release. Relax the breath until you are not breathing the breath. The breath is breathing you. Let the day fall away as you might let a cloak slip from your shoulders. If a thought reaches back to fetch the day again, refuse the errand. No, not tonight. Now, turn inward without strain, like a face turning toward warmth. Whisper within, not with the lips but with awareness. God is. God is. God is. 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 Let the cadence be gentle, like waves that arrive and arrive without your help. Do not drive the words. Do not try to believe them harder. Lay them down softly and let them sink. Not whether your mind is saying it, but whether something deep within you is consenting. Yes. God is. Do you feel even a small assent, a quiet nod somewhere under the noise? If so, rest there. If not, do not correct or condemn. Simply return to the gentle wave. God is. Refuse negotiations. When the planner enters with its papers, tomorrow's terms, yesterday's regrets, do not hold court. Do not bargain. Do not itemize. No visualizing outcomes. No rehearsing speeches. No asking for signs. Prayer is never asking. Prayer is this tender, wordless contact. Be still and let the silence come as thought grows tired of itself. Do not force quiet. Let it arrive. It will, the way dusk comes, by not being resisted. As you abide, notice the difference between mind noise and presence. Noise argues. Presence has no argument. Noise has edges and urgency. Presence is warmth without boundary. Noise demands a verdict. Presence is an assurance that needs none. Can you feel that shift? Subtle at first, as the mantra ceases to be a phrase you repeat and becomes an atmosphere that repeats you. God is. It begins to hold you the way a melody holds a room, not as a thought to keep, but as a fact that keeps you. If memory brings a face, resist the label and let the face float in the same light. God is. If a pain speaks, do not name it good or evil. Let it be an appearance passing through, a presence that does not pass. If drowsiness comes, let it come. If wakefulness stays, let it stay. You are not producing holiness tonight. You are consenting to oneness. I and the Father are one. Your Father and my Father. One. O-N-E. One. Remain in this easy fidelity. When you notice you have left it, return without scolding. The protocol is fidelity, not force. Abide until the words grow thin and the awareness remains. God is, as living fact, as the very substance of your being. And in that quiet, grace moves of itself. Before this night is far along, you will have company. Do not be surprised. 3 visitors come to almost every bedside when the light is turned inward. Fear with its narratives of danger. Regret with its loops of if only. And the urge to control with its restless hands on tomorrow's wheel. These are not failures. No. These are the mind's last negotiations, seeking a hearing in a court you have closed. See them as they are, appearances. Then refuse the bench, the gavel, the sentence. Judge not after appearances. Judge righteous judgment, which, for this night, means withhold judgment altogether and let the vacuum form into which the presence may reveal itself. When fear speaks, what if? Do not wrestle. Do not argue. Do not analyze its genealogy. Do not label it spiritual or unspiritual. Withdraw the verdict. Let the words pass without feeding them a counterbrief. Meet them with a simple, tender acknowledgement and your mantra. I see you, and I do not judge. God is. Then turn again to the stillness and let the phrase dissolve into awareness. God is. When regret begins its reel, I should have said, I should not have done. Remember the Master's posture to the accused. Neither do I condemn thee. Apply it inwardly. Neither do I condemn thee, frightened self, ashamed self, rehearsing self. Neither do I condemn thee, and I do not excuse thee. I do not sit in that courtroom at all. God is. Let that be the entire ministry you give to yesterday this night. No condemnation, no defense, only the realization. Your heavenly Father knoweth. The weight of explanation is no longer yours. When the controller appears with lists and strategies, do not place the hand back upon the wheel. Simply see the impulse for what it is, the belief in separation dressed up as responsibility, and release it into the same light. I see you, and I do not judge. God is. Return. Return without scolding. Return without pride. Return as you would to a warm hearth after opening a drafty door. Do you sense what is happening here? We are not improving the human mind. We are not teaching it better thoughts. We are standing as consciousness itself, as the awareness of God is, in which the churning mind names thin and dissolve. In the absence of condemnation, in the silence of verdicts withheld, a warmth may begin to register. Not an emotion you manufacture, not a trance you induce, but the natural atmosphere of presence revealing itself when you have made the space. You set up a sort of vacuum, and into that vacuum there rushes a quiet rightness, a gentleness without edges. Can you feel even a hint of it, somewhere under the noise, agreeing? Not whether the mind agrees, but whether something deep consents. Yes, God is. Keep the practice spare and faithful. Each time a visitor arrives, do not bar the door, do not serve tea. Simply meet, bless without judgment, and return. I see you, and I do not judge. God is. And again, God is. 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 In that fidelity, you are honoring oneness. I and the Father are one. Your Father and my Father. One. O-N-E, one. And the restless triad of fear, regret, and control loses its authority where you refuse to sit as judge. Then the night is no longer a battlefield. It becomes sanctuary, and grace, without your bargaining, moves of itself. Let us deepen the renunciation by seeing what it truly opens. You are not adding anything to yourself tonight. You are not an empty cup in search of a distant fountain. The vessel is already full. All that the Father hath is already yours, because I and the Father are one, your Father and my Father. One. O-Ni, one. The practice is not acquisition. It is removal of impediment. It is the quiet opening through which fullness pours. Do you feel the rightness of that? Not whether the mind applauds the sentence, but whether something deep concedes, yes, of course. God is. When I say let, I mean precisely this. They must let pour out from them, not try to add more to them. Our humanity has spent itself trying to get more safety, more virtue, more spirituality, when the issue has never been scarcity, but obstruction. Browning called it the imprisoned splendor. What imprisons it? Personal will gripping the wheel. Personal fear clutching at outcomes. Personal planning arranging tomorrow's weather and calling that wisdom. No, no. Those are the bars. The splendor is not out there to be fetched. It is here to be released. Open out a way for the imprisoned splendor to escape. How do we open? By withholding judgment, by lowering the hands, by renouncing the bargains and consenting to the mantra until it ceases to be a mantra and becomes awareness. God is, 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 is. Do not mistake surrender for passivity. Surrender is not fatalism. It is not indifference to life, nor is it the laziness of a mind that will not be bothered to care. Surrender is allegiance, the soul's conscious resting in omnipresence, omnipotence, omniscience, as the actual government of being. If omnipresence is presence, present, here, what is there for a private will to regulate? If omnipotence is the law, power, and action, what is there for our small strength to force? If omniscience knows, what is there for our anxious guessing to perfect? Be still and know is not an abdication. It is the right government coming to the throne within. Watch for the subtle demand that sneaks in the back door, even now. If I do this, I should feel X. I should receive a sign. I should drift into a glow. No, no. That is the old contract in polite dress. That is getting disguised as letting. We are not bargaining for an experience. We are consenting to reality. Your heavenly Father knoweth. Our part is not to measure the temperature of holiness, but to abide in the fact. God is. When the mind asks for proof, answer softly with your renunciation. No signs tonight, only realization. Rest there without adornment. And when letting happens, when even a sliver of the imprisoned splendor finds its way into the open, demonstration may follow, the way fragrance follows a blossom. But understand the order. Realization first, demonstration as witness, not as wage. The difference in demonstration is the difference in realization, never the difference in pleading. So we do not time grace, we do not meter it, we do not draft it into our plans. We make the space, and we keep the faith with our one assurance. God is, 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 is. By morning, if there is a change, you will know it by the atmosphere within, more than by the arrangement without. And if there is no noticeable change without, do not revoke your consent. Continue to let. Continue to open. The splendor is not winning its way in. It is winning its way out through a consciousness no longer governed by fear, regret, or control. This is our deepening. Letting, not getting. Release, not demand. Realization, not proof. And in that, grace moves of itself. By morning, do not rush to your windows to take attendance of blessings and threats. Do not reach for the phone, the news, the ledger. No, no. First, scan consciousness. Ask, what is the quality of awareness that is here? Not whether circumstances have moved as you wished, but whether the atmosphere within has altered. Pose to your own heart 3 simple questions, gently, without grading. Is there a little less urgency? Is there a little more space? Is there a quiet confidence without reason? If there is even a small yes, you are feeling the fruit of realization. If there is not yet a yes, do not judge. Judge not after appearances. Judge righteous judgment, which is to say, look not at the outer picture, nor even at the inner weather with condemnation, but wait for the invisible assurance to speak. Righteous judgment in the morning means this. You measure grace by the change in consciousness. not by the rearrangement of chairs on the deck of appearances. You look for peace where strain had been, for softness where you had been hard, for a lessening of the impulse to seize the wheel. Do you sense even a faint loosening, a warmth without a story, a trust without a reason? Your heavenly Father knoweth. The presence does not need your human evidence to be present. It seeks only your consent to notice its own quietness. God is. Let that be the scale upon which you weigh this day's beginning. Take a simple minute, 60 seconds, before any outer contact. Sit or remain lying, and let the breath find you. Whisper within, without effort. God is. God is. Do not try to feel something. Notice what is already here. If a plan pushes in, if a fear asks admission, do not argue. Withhold the verdict and return. God is. I and the Father are one. Your Father and my Father. One. O-N-E. One. When the minute is complete, rise inside that awareness as you would step into light. Now remember, the difference in demonstration is the difference in realization. If today's outer evidence appears thin, do not assign blame. Do not pronounce yourself unspiritual. No. No. This is not a contest. It is communion. The degree of contact last night is the degree of witness today. If the contact was slight, the witness may be subtle. If the contact was deep, the witness may be clear. In either case, you continue. You do not time grace. You keep faith with it. You return to the center again and again. God is. Today becomes your quiet proving ground. Not to prove yourself, but to let the presence prove itself through your seeing. Meet each person without label. Call no one good, no one evil. Pause and let the vacuum form. Realize God is. Meet each condition the same way. The email, the traffic, the body's complaint. Do not rush to condemn or to crown. Withhold judgment, feel for the inner space, and let the mantra rise like a tide. God is. In that way, what you realized in the night becomes the way you walk in the day, and grace moves of itself through a consciousness that has learned where to look. Carry the one night into the day by refusing to leave the altar. Walk as you rested, not pleading, not managing, not pronouncing verdicts. Meet each person today, familiar or stranger, without the labels that imprison them in your history. Call no one good, call no one evil. Withdraw your opinion and let the vacuum form. Then, in that receptive space, silently realize, God is. Do you feel the change that occurs, not in them first, but in you? The warmth, the softening, the subtle lightness. That is grace moving through consciousness because you have refused to furnish it with condemnation or praise. Judge not after appearances. Judge righteous judgment. Righteous judgment is not your verdict. It is your yieldedness to the invisible that knows. Apply this same seeing to conditions. When lack announces itself, an empty account, a delayed provision, do not deny the figure on the page, but do not make it law. No. Let the vacuum form. Withhold the sentence, not enough, and realize, God is the law, substance, supply of being. When sickness knocks, symptom, report, ache, do not call it good, do not call it evil. Do not bow to it as power. Withdraw the gavel. Realize God is life, wholeness, the only power present. When conflict arises, sharp words, crossed purposes, do not enter the courtroom with your defense and prosecution. Pause. Be still within. God is peace, and where God is, no other power can stand. Not whether your mind agrees to these truths, but whether something deeper consents to them. Your heavenly Father knoweth. Make this your day's micro-discipline. Each time you catch yourself negotiating, brushing people into categories, arranging tomorrow's weather, hurrying a result, stop right where you are and say inwardly, tenderly, no. No. God is. Let the breath find you. Withhold the judgment. 10 seconds will do. If the mind rushes back, repeat the pause, the withholding, the mantra. Do you see what I'm driving at? You are not trying to get results. You are keeping faith with reality. In those small fidelities, realization deepens. The difference in demonstration is the difference in realization. Remember, this way is not for the few who wear a certain label. It is not dependent upon belonging or not belonging to some metaphysical group. It is the simple, universal life of oneness. I and the Father are one. Your Father and my Father. One. O-N-E. One. All that the Father hath is mine. All that I have is thine. Meet the clerk, the child, the critic, the body, the spreadsheet, the highway. Each without verdict, each within the same light. God is. And watch how the vacuum you create is met, not by your cleverness, but by a warmth, a wisdom, an order that were present before you spoke their names. Let this be your benediction as you go. Thou art. Thou art the presence at my center and the presence in all I meet. Thou art the life of my life, the mind of my mind, the law of my being. And where thou art, harmony is. God is. Walk in that, quietly, and let grace move of itself.